Donald Trump's prediction that this election is going to be rigged for crooked Hillary has got the entire press in an uproar. They've gone into a frenzy of denial that such a thing is even remotely possible in the United States, and that there's even something dangerous, deeply unpatriotic, subversive about his even suggesting such a thing. Now, it seems to be his function to discredit certain reasonable and important kinds of inquiry just by talking about them in a kind of a crude and exaggerated way. And this is an example of that tendency of his. The fact is that, hard as it may be to believe, Donald Trump is actually right about the fact that this election could be stolen. He's not right about the way in which he thinks it's going to happen, right? But he is right to say that it could be stolen, and he's also right to say that he'll wait and see before he decides that he'll accept the results. But it seems to me that any reasonable candidate, and here I'm flattering him, right, would hesitate before basically prejudging the outcome of any election as necessarily sound. The fact is that he's right about the vulnerability of this election, because all of our elections are highly vulnerable. We actually have the worst voting system in the developed world, okay? This is not hyperbole on my part. Harvard just came out with a study ranking the United States dead last in election integrity in the entire developed world, right? And Jimmy Carter, in 2006, told NPR that elections in the United States are so poor that they don't even rise to the minimal level where the Carter Center would bother to monitor them. I think that the system is set up to make honest elections pretty much impossible. And it's important to get a little more specific about it and to make the point that election theft today in the United States involves an enormous 1-2 punch. It is a two-step process. One of these steps, it is permissible to talk about. The second step has been dismissed as conspiracy theory. Now, step one, and this is, as I say, is the permissible step, the step we can discuss, involves shrinking the pool of eligible voters so that there are just fewer people able to get into the polls on election day. And this is we're talking here about vote suppression. But that's only step one. The second step, the crucial step in a way, the very precise step, and the one that we're not allowed to talk about, the one that's dismissed as conspiracy theory, is computerized election fraud, okay? So once you have limited the pool of eligible voters, once you have ensured that only a certain very limited number of people can even get in to cast a vote, then you are able, through computerized voting machines and computerized vote counting optical scanners, you're able to kind of fiddle a little bit with the numbers from precinct to precinct. You can concoct a couple hundred votes here. You can erase a couple hundred votes there. It's not simply a matter of dumping a ton of extra votes into a race in a way that could conceivably raise suspicions, okay? The fact that the system is both computerized and privatized, private companies tell us what the vote count is, and we have no way to check it. We have no way to tell if it's honest. That's the real danger here. Now let me say a word about exit polls. Exit polls are kind of the key to determining whether an election is honest or not. That's why we have exit polls. Exit polls are used all over the world for precisely this purpose, as a check on the official count to make sure that that count is legitimate. Believe it or not, that is not what exit polls are supposed to be for in the United States. We're told that in this country, where elections are never stolen, and certainly never stolen through computerized devices, we're told that the function of the exit polls is simply to provide the media with demographic data. We're also told, and we have been told since 2000, repeatedly by the media, that exit polls are notoriously unreliable. We hear this all the time, and we started hearing it precisely because In contest after contest, the exit polls seemed to suggest that the winner of the election was actually not the winner. John Kerry was validated as the actual winner of the 2004 election in exit poll after exit poll. And in the recent primary season that established Hillary Clinton as her party's nominee, most of the exit polls actually demonstrate that Bernie Sanders won the election in state after state. In 11 out of 11 cases where the exit polls diverged from the official count above the margin of error, Hillary Clinton was the beneficiary. A very important point to make about all this is that the problem of election theft does not just involve the wrong people coming to power. Okay? It's not just a matter of the will of the electorate being thwarted. I mean, that's serious enough in any country that calls itself a democracy. But there's an equally troubling consequence, which has to do with our view of who we are and the view of America held by the rest of the world. All these seeming victories by right-wing Republicans and corporate Democrats have sort of given rise to this myth that when it comes to the crunch in the polling booth, the American people are deeply conservative. Now, this flies directly in the face of all the statistical evidence of how Americans actually feel on issue after issue, whether it's minimum wage or Social Security or, climate change or abortion rights or, war and peace, Wall Street, you name it. On issue after issue, the majority is actually fairly progressive. Insofar as we think that American politics is just an endless battle between the two parties, we could say, this is typical, this is politics as usual, okay? Well, the problem here is that this system, let's say it's a kind of bipartisan conspiracy not to do anything about this problem. This system actually prevents the emergence of any genuine alternative to the kind of duopoly of power that we now have. That's the problem here. Now, what can we do about all this? Now, really, there are some very realistic and feasible solutions to this horrific problem, solutions that other countries have used. We need hand-counted paper ballots, ballots counted out in the open, all right? That's what we need. We need to get rid of computerized voting. We need to get rid of the private interests involved in the system. We need to have people be registered automatically on their birthdays, right? And we need to make Election Day a national holiday. I mean, these are certain basic reforms that are possible, that we can do, and that will actually return this country to its people.